Third-party organizations. I mean, have we seen any significant influence yet in this campaign in terms of, or I saw a site that came up yesterday, Shit Harper Did, which is quite remarkable, over 1 million hits in 24 hours. Again, obviously organized by someone who is, and they're saying vote anyone but. But do you see any influence by third parties yet?
I think that might be the only example that I can think of. National Citizens Coalition has made an effort to sort of be fairly aggressive online. I'm not convinced that it's making a big dent. So third parties proper, I'm not watching it. I'm really captivated by the internal dialogue that's occurring in public, nevertheless, among media themselves covering the campaign. There's one other thing that I would say, and I think if that criticism is correct, that the political class simply use it as a broadcast tool, it is becoming less correct every single one of these 36 days of the campaign. Because one of the things I find is interesting, and I'm kind of glad I'm not working in a campaign this time, because you are seeing individuals, not third parties, you're seeing individuals actually penetrate dialogue, and you're seeing them actually get, you'll see people going back and forth with Giorno, who's running the Conservative campaign, or Dimitri Soudis, who's the press secretary to the Prime Minister. Dimitri tends to send out these really banal, hard spin sort of tweets, and then people will start making fun of him, right? Festchuk had him going the other day. My partner Scott Festchuk just was tearing the living hell out of him, right?
And he was foolish in responding.
And you know, and Dimitri sort of got into it. And you know, it's interesting. This Jason Leiter guy who's running the Conservative War Room has started dialoguing back and forth with me, and then dialoguing back and forth with these people who are following me, who I don't know, much less he doesn't know. And I just think to myself, that's very, I don't know what to make of it, but it's really interesting.
That's also a prescription for
It's a prescription for, because someone's going to say F off, right? And boom, you've got a campaign event.
It's also, I mean, when do these people do work?
Exactly.
I don't know how to
36 days. I mean, you know, it used to be, right, when a candidate of an opposing party knocked on your door, you would invite them in and offer them cookies and coffee and a drink and a bottle of wine just so they couldn't knock on anyone else's door. Well, I know how to derail the Conservative campaign. Start tweeting with the leadership of the campaign, and no wonder there's no new ads on the air. No, I haven't seen any third-party groups yet, but that's just a matter of time. But to your point about the political class not knowing how to use social media well, I think there's one central reason for that, and that's something that they've really got to get their heads around changing, but it's going to be very difficult. Everyone who's been brought up in this business has always been beaten into them the importance of message control, message discipline, whatever, only once, blah, 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 blah. Like it's everything in our DNA. And of course, in the social media world, that all has to go completely out the window. And having the courage, the organizational and institutional courage to let that go in a world of gotcha journalism, because it's very easy to say, oh, let that go and let the social media world take over and do whatever they want. Well, you saw, you know, in Etobicoke yesterday, when a volunteer sends a stupid email, how it can, so how do you reconcile the fact that the media will put that kind of a mistake as a lead item with a social media world which has as its fundamental operating system, you know, no control.
After Robin answers, I want to tell a quick story about on that very thing.
I'm going to throw it open to the audience in about 5 minutes, so feel free to start lining up, and then we'll get some questions from the floor. Sorry.
Well, no, I just wanted to make one brief observation. I agree with both Jamie and Scott about this, but I think there are two phenomena one can see the beginnings of developing. The first is that it will be very difficult for campaigns if some third-party organization has the smarts to send messages out in a broad enough manner to harass campaigns regularly with demands for information on a subject they care about. Let's say marijuana legalization. One could see absolutely crashing the communications capability of a campaign.
Well, every electronic town hall that's happened in the United States has been dominated
by those guys. So that's something we've never had to cope with before. Crashing your phone system, that sort of thing has happened historically. But I think the campaigns are going to have to prepare themselves for very concerted, what the geeks would call denial of service attacks in the future from enthusiasts. And the other thing I think one can also see happening is that in the Obama campaign, one of their brilliant achievements, to speak to Jamie's point about control and message discipline, was to say, we don't have the ability to impose it, and the benefit for us of giving it up and simply empowering somebody with some capability locally to organize for us is greater than the risk of chaos or mistakes that they'll make about us. So let 1,000 flowers bloom, as Mr. Ignatieff unfortunately said.
So apparently did Mao.
The implication of that for people of the generations represented here is the central campaign gives up authority to these idiots at the local level? I mean, it's not ever something we would contemplate doing in the past, but I think it's almost inevitable.